Hi, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Okay, welcome to this week's live sesh. Oh my goodness, Luke is already bringing up some fun comments. Anyways, welcome to this week's live session. We're excited, as always, to be here with you today. This is going to be kind of like a regular formatted AMA. So pop all your questions in the YouTube live feed, and we'll bring them up accordingly. Keep it farmer friendly. Be nice to one another. And we'll give you a Pixels update to start, and then we'll hop into those questions. So, Luke.
Hey, guys. Hey, Heidi. No, super glad to be here today. I think this will be just like a run-of-the-mill AMA. We're just chugging away at all the things that we said we've been working on. So we're still moving forward with pets. We're still moving forward with getting your berry withdraw and deposit ready. And then obviously we're prepping the Pixel token. So yeah, that's something I'm more and more excited about. And I'm more and more excited about the pets. We've been leaking a bit of that in the Discord, if you guys are following along. Basically, if you ever see me in the Discord and you harass me for a leak, I'll probably give in. So that happened last night. I shouldn't say that, but it's kind of true. I'm very easily peer pressured. And yeah, we've been showing more and more of the pets. And I don't know, I'm just super excited about them. They look so cute. So yeah, we're going to have a ton of variations of them. The idea is to kind of mix, I think like Neopet style, mixed with CryptoKitties, mixed with Pokemon. So the idea is we want some generative art. We want them to all be pretty cute, and then some to be, a bit more meme-like maybe too. We'll have our own Kevin, if you guys know what Kevin is.
Oh my gosh.
And things like that. And then the idea is that we want to just kind of make them feel collectible, unique. So every pet will also, unlike Neopets, be generative and have their own traits, look pretty different as well too. But with some base body types that you guys have been kind of seeing in the leaks. So I think we leaked a picture last week. We're adding even more body types and more like pet types. And yeah, I'm loving how they're coming out. They're looking super cute. So we think that's going to be a great intro into the target audience that we want to move in towards. Right now, Pixels has a pretty unique audience for Web3, actually. You guys really aren't degens, or at least most of you aren't, which is kind of interesting because you're seeing a lot of these Web3 platforms pop up that, do cater more towards that market, but that's not ever really what we were going for. We want people who are here for our game. We want people who are here for, what we're actually building. And yeah, I think we found that. So I think this will kind of cater in towards you guys a lot. And then also, finding more people like you as well, the people who are kind of crypto curious, who, want a fun game. That is also, tied to Web3 as well. It's kind of a win-win situation. So yeah, that's what we're moving towards. And we're super excited about that. So we'll give some more info on pets. Maybe I'll just like leak some details on the mechanics because I think some people are interested in that. And, the mechanics also tie in with what we're thinking about with the Pixel token, or tokenomics, and all that as well too. But yeah, besides pets, besides, berry withdraw and deposit, which we're still working on, if I had to give an estimated date for berry withdraw and deposit right now with our current sprint structure, I would estimate it's looking like, what's our next release date? That makes sense. Probably the March 7th to 8th release date is our estimated date right now. So it looks like berry withdraw deposit is not going to make it on the next release, or this release, obviously. And we just want to QA it in production for a bit more as well too, to make sure that it's really seamless, that there's no obvious bugs, and we want to complete an audit around the berry contract as well. So estimated date will be around then to open up berry withdraw and deposit, and then a few other things would come with that as well too. I'm really, really excited to see what, actually opening it up does to the game. If literally just opening up berry gets us more attention, if we get more players just from that, I would think we probably will. I would expect some new faces when berry withdraw and deposits open, because, that's going to be when we're, fully really a Web3 game, besides just the stuff that you guys are seeing right now. Even though we are blockchain backed, you guys get like the benefits of being blockchain backed, but really you get the full benefits when that withdraw and deposit functionality is open, our exchange page. So yeah, that'll be kind of a game changer. And then, right after berry withdraw and deposit, we're focused on Pixel. And again, Pixel, when we say we're focused on Pixel, that means we will never launch a token that doesn't have use cases for it when it launches. For some reason, for some reason, I just don't feel right about that. I really think that people should have tokens because they want to be using them. I don't love, all these projects I see out there who you see a token getting launched and then nobody can tell you what it does. That's not our philosophy. That's not our ethos. For us, when we're thinking about building out a healthy ecosystem around this token, we think that who owns a token is equally as important as what it does. And we think that, the why behind the token is actually extremely important. And what we want number one, a lot of people to hold our token. We want to go as broad as possible. We think getting the token in the hands of as many people as we can is the right idea to get people to have a stake in the ecosystem. Two, we want to make sure that the token that we're giving it to, or the people that we're giving the token to, actually, enjoy what we're building. They're kind of here for this long-term mission that we have. So we do value people who are active in our ecosystem, who show good in-game behavior that kind of aligns with how we see the space. And that's kind of the approach around the distribution of how we're going to be doing the token as well too. So again, all of you who had participated in Played Airdrop, expect the Pixel token when we do that facilitation around the release. And again, that's going to be coming after we open up withdraw and deposit of the Berry token. We have to focus on that, make sure that launch goes really seamless. And then we are moving towards the facilitation of Pixel shortly after. So it's all coming together. And the next 2 to 3 months of Pixels is going to be absolutely insane. We've been working hard, ever since the release of the alpha came out back in November. But it's going to ramp up even more for the team in the next 2 to 3 months. So be kind to all of us as we work our butts off to get this token out, because there are so many pieces that it takes to get it working. So again, we're really excited about it. We think it's going to go quite well. Again, we have one of the biggest player bases in the space before we even launch the token. I just need to emphasize that again. We've been moving intentionally. All the steps that we've been doing, we've been focusing on getting players. We've been focusing on getting people who actually like what we're building before we drop the token. We wanted to kind of go in the other direction. We could have dropped this token a long time ago, but that just does not go with our ethos. That doesn't go with the way that we see the space and the way we see the long-term health of the ecosystem. So we think that going in this direction will put us in a really good spot. And I think we've set the best foundation that we possibly could. And it's really all thanks to you guys. One, you guys have been giving us constant feedback on the game. We've been improving it. Two, you guys have been through a lot with us. I just posted a tweet yesterday on the Twitter account, kind of showing where we were at a year ago. And it's crazy that we've had a game that's live for over a year now. The amount of progress we made and the amount of bugs and things like that you guys put up with in the early days is quite incredible. So for the fact that I recognize so many of you from a year ago and you guys are still here today, number one, in gaming, I can't emphasize how rare that is. Keeping users around for a year is not an easy thing to do in gaming. I think the Web3 aspects help with it. That's kind of why Web3 gaming is potentially better than normal gaming. But that's an accomplishment in itself. So number one, I want to give a thank you to all of you who've just been here for a long time. Thank you for helping us make the game better and better. And we're super excited to go to the next steps of Pixels with all of you. So yeah, that being said, we also are releasing in-game updates, even when all the other things that we're focusing on are coming together as well. Berry, Pixel, Pets. And Heidi, maybe you want to kind of dive into some of the updates that we're releasing today. I guess this is a bit of a spoiler, but they're coming out in an hour or two.
Yeah. Okay, sure. Let me pull up the release notes, the unreleased release notes. So hold on.
Yeah,
Here we go.
This update has a lot of changes that a lot of you have been asking for a while. And it's just some of the small stuff that we really been wanting to get in for a bit. And, we finally had the capacity to do it.
Yeah. Okay. All right. We've got 2 new crops coming out. Astracactus, which can only be planted on space lands, and water mint that can only be placed on or planted on water lands. So that's really exciting. It's really fun to see utility coming into play with the land traits themselves. So I'm really excited for that one. And it's so funny, even when I was testing internally, I was like, why can't I plant it here? land types, guys. So we've got those new crops, and then we've got a whole bunch of new quests coming out, and they're not like, oh, they release and go like in the past. These ones are going to take quite a long time for users to work through because they require you to level up in your farming levels and all of that, and it's going to take quite a long time, and they're all based around the Why Not series. So it's a series now, the Why Not series. So you're going to be working with Goose a lot, the winery industry, and creating all these different types of wine. And keep in mind too, the quests have a bit of a delay on them. You finish one, I think it's around 24 hours later, the next one will open. So it's going to be fun. It's going to keep you entertained for a longer period of time than just like our super farmers that go in the minute something's released and hammer it out in like, I don't know, half an hour. And then they're like, what's next? So this one's going to take a bit more time. So I'm really excited about it. And then there, of course, with all of that, there's a whole bunch of new like wines. There's some really funny ones like Butter Brew, Grain Shine, Aster Cactus Tequila, Watermint Whiskey. There's just a bunch of fun things coming with that industry. So, and some of these will be sellable back to the Drunken Goose. So lots of fun stuff coming around that industry.
Yeah, I'm really excited about those updates too, because the integration with the different land types, this is something that we want to experiment with now because we plan on adding mechanics like this with pets. We really want the different land types to, have even greater effects on gameplay, because we think that makes it a bit more interesting, right? We want you to have to kind of move around the lands more than what you guys do now. Maybe you bookmarked a land that's not space, and right now the space land didn't have much of a difference. But if you need to be harvesting, these crops that can only be grown on space land, you have more decisions to make now in terms of how you actually manage your resources, how you get to different places. So one, we think that also brings a bit more value to the landowners, and we can really expand upon this in pets if we start to see the behavior that we want to. So we're kind of excited to see how this goes.
Okay, and that's not all. There's some more fun features coming. So one new feature that I don't think I even heard anyone, a lot of the time the features that we come out in the community are, we've kind of worked with the community and heard what they've asked for, and then our designers have gone off of that and continue to explore. This one, I don't think I heard anyone ever come up with. So I was pleasantly surprised, and that are map skills. So you click on the gate of the land, and you actually see the skills that have been built up on that land. So now the land holds levels themselves. At the moment, it's more just fun facts to know how popular this land is, what industries are on this land, what you can expect before you even enter the gate. And then in the future, I mean, imagine the kinds of things that can come out with that. Like, oh, this land got to this level, so therefore it's allowed to do and implement X, Y, Z. Who knows? Lots of fun things coming with that. So interesting. That was a cool one.
Potentially a more leveled up land outputs higher resources as well too. So again, what we want to do is we want to reward people who are actually having their things used. And this is in combination with, we want to make land, a bit more diverse. We want to have to make you guys go to different pieces of land. And then two, we want to reward the people who are actually actively taking care of their land as well. So that's going to tie into another thing that we're thinking with pets as well. But again, all this foundation that we're laying, we want to kind of analyze, how you guys are actually playing, the decisions that you make, and we want to give you more choices.
Yeah. Okay, and then another one that has been kind of in the talks for a long time is that to change your username, it's now going to cost 1,000 berry. So go, if you want to change your name last minute for free, go do it right now, because you will have to, after this update, you will have to spend 1,000 berry to change your username. And I'm not sure, is there a delay on that or not? I'm not sure. Yeah. I'll look at that. But yeah, Luke, do you want to talk a bit about why we decided to go down this path?
Yeah, part of it is, it's the Twitter blue ethos a bit, where some kinds of barriers like this actually do help our ability to detect and combat against botting and bad actors. Two, we want to also start to experiment with utility for pixel. So this is one of the things that we're looking at, where we actually might switch this from berry to pixel in the long run. And when we have this live in game, we kind of get to see how this gets priced, how you guys react to it, and look at the economics of this as well too. So we try to take a pretty analytical approach when we're planning around pixel. when we're looking at all the in-game data that you guys have been giving us, it's so valuable. And that's, again, why we're kind of taking the approach of this slower rollout where we release the game with the first token, and then we are waiting for the second token too. All this data and all this information that we're getting from you guys is extremely helpful, and it's going to make the launch of Pixel even better.
Okay, so then going back, what else do we have here? New quests, Barry, username, gate. Okay, yeah, and then the last thing that we have on this update is when you log into the game, you will actually have to agree to our terms of service. So the rules and guidelines that we put out a few weeks ago, we actually kind of worked in collaboration with feedback from the community, and we researched it a lot, looking at other models from other games, MMOs and whatnot. A lot went into that document and decisions and all of that. And now, we've published it, we've let the community know, but of course we do have a huge player base that doesn't interact with us on any social platforms, Discord, doesn't come to our live sessions, and they're just simply unaware of the rules. And so we want to make sure that we actually have an agreement between the user and Pixels, that they are aware of the rules that we've implemented. And so when you first log into the game, you will have to, do the whole check, yes, I agree. And then of course we keep that data. So that is something else that is coming in this update. And that's all.
Yeah, that's especially important as we move on to the next stages too. And a lot of this is around, okay, how do we protect our real and good users? How do we make sure that, the people who are earning this token are, the ones that should be? What we don't want to do is we don't want to, ruin all of your experiences from a few bad actors. So, we want the power to make sure that we can, remove bad actors, essentially people who are trying to bot or, automate a lot of the game mechanics, so that you guys aren't, at a disadvantage to all of these players. The game's not fun if you feel like you actually can't make progress compared to people who are cheating in game. So that's part of why these terms of services are getting released, so that, we just make it really clear what our policies are around that. And, we are, actively removing, bad actors every single day, with you guys in mind.
Yeah. Okay, Luke, do you have any other updates you want to give before we hop into some questions?
I think this is a good time to hop into questions. Yeah, let's do it.
Yeah, so guys, if you have any questions about literally anything, we'll do our best to answer you. Just throw them in the YouTube live chat and we'll bring them up. So I might just answer some of the ones that were recent. This is a good one. So if someone has an inappropriate name and it's caught, do they need to pay for the name change? As it stands, yeah. So what happens right now, if someone has an inappropriate name, any user can report them. And if a moderator or team member sees them as well, we can actually mute them from the game, so that you might, I don't know if you've seen it, but if you hover over the user, they'll have their name. It just says muted, and they're not able to trade or communicate in the chat. And, those are implemented for many reasons, and it's usually due to inappropriate or abusive behavior. And then obviously a team member reviews their behavior and then moves forward accordingly. So if that is placed on them, they will have to change their name, of course. And I think as the text stands, yeah, they will have to pay for it. So I don't really feel bad about that. I understand the concern, but also, why are you doing inappropriate things? Well, let's talk about that internally.
Yeah, or we just change it to something way too innocent that you won't like, fluffy.
I do them on Discord, actually.
I do all the time.
If someone comes into Discord with an inappropriate name, I kind of study their name and think of words that are very similar to the inappropriate word that they've used, and I just change it to that. Anyways, okay. Let me look here. Any estimate on Pixel's VIP?
Yeah, it'll be released on the day of Barry withdraw and deposit, same day. So that's actually it's in code. It's actually in production. If you guys have seen, you'll see VIP, no VIP on the player profile. So yeah, it's all tested and ready to go. We're just waiting until the withdraw and deposit is enabled, because we think that's a better time and it makes the most sense to launch it then, essentially. And also there's something else we're going to be doing with that too. So we don't want people to get it too early.
Okay, so then going back to pets, do we get to pick a pet type? And then someone said, good point. I wonder if we get to choose, or if pets have different drop rates or something.
Yeah, we have a pretty cool mechanic plan for this actually. I'll spill the tea on this one a bit. Essentially, it's gonna be twofold. So pets are gonna have almost like a genetic component, but then also a component that you can control when they're hatching. So I think we kind of talked about high level what we were planning with that, with like a potion making skill essentially. So essentially, you're going to get these pet capsules that will reveal some of the traits of the pets before they've even been hatched. So you'll see like some of it, but then you'll also be able to feed it potions in this growth lab essentially. Have I leaked the growth lab? Yeah, we did. We did.
Well,
Oh,
we
I
didn't say what it was though,
like
so there
spill.
you go.
Okay, well, sorry. But yeah, we leaked that, I guess, and now you know what it is. But essentially, you're gonna be able to fill those up, and you're gonna have some control over, how the pet actually hatches and forms in these growth labs. So it's a mix of both essentially. We like the idea of having rarity pre-reveal, and then we like the idea of having reveal that takes some work and also that you have some control over too.
Okay. And this is a good question for possibly people that are joining the community a little bit later as well. What is the difference between VIP and no VIP?
Yeah, so there's a few things that we're doing with it. You can think of VIP and Pixels as sort of like RuneScape or World of Warcraft membership. So it's not required to play the game, but will be required to participate in certain parts of the game, if that makes sense. So right now, how we're thinking about VIP specifically is around in-game trading and withdraw and deposit of the tokens. This is twofold. One, it's again kind of similar to RuneScape membership or like Twitter Blue in a way as well, where there is going to be an economic barrier that way to actually take out of the ecosystem. This really cuts back on botting. Bot farmers won't be able to afford to spend. It's not even that much, but they won't be able to afford to spend this on thousands of accounts essentially. But then one account will be completely fine. It's going to be the cost of like a couple pizzas essentially. We don't want it to be super expensive or buried for people to play. And we still want the game to be free to play as well, just to, basically interact with the crypto components and actually withdraw and deposit your tokens. Then, it's going to require this membership. And then also we want membership to come with a bunch of other perks as well too. Want to come with things like extra bookmarks. I think your name will be different colors. Really fun, tiny perks like that as well. And then two, we're also thinking about with the Pixel token, having the membership or the VIP will include things like discounts towards, spend on Pixel or discounts on things like if we have a breathing mechanic for Pixel. So we kind of wanted to make sense to get it essentially. Like we wanted to kind of offset, any of the, costs that you would have in the game, but still have that like initial hump before creating a new account. So it's essentially like a tiny little barrier so that people can't make hundreds and hundreds of accounts and just completely extract and dump. But then two, like if you're an active player, it'll actually probably make sense to get it, but it's also not required until it makes sense for you to get it. We're using Unlock Protocol for membership and VIP. If you guys haven't seen that, it's still an NFT. But these NFTs have expiration dates. I think this will be a lot more common in the space in the next 6 to 7 months, or honestly, probably 2 to 3 months. You're going to start to see more projects implement this, especially with all the news around where royalty battles. We've been planning this for a long time. This decision actually wasn't influenced by any of the royalty wars or bidding or anything like that. We just kind of had wanted to move in this direction anyways. And if you guys are interested, we can maybe touch on our thoughts on that as well too. For us, we never intended to rely on royalties for runway in the project. We actually never really saw that as super sustainable in the first place. For some reason, we just didn't like the idea that we only make money when people exit our ecosystem. Just didn't sit right with us. So what we were looking for was more sustainable sources of revenue so that Pixels can keep the light on, still continue to make product for all of you guys in the long term. And we wanted one that didn't also include dumping our own token on all of you guys as well. So this is a really interesting way that we can do that. If it doesn't work, it doesn't work, and then we'll adjust and see what goes on from there. But this is a team that experiments a lot. This is a team that adjusts very quickly. So we're willing to try some things, and this is one of the things that we're trying.
Well said. Okay. Let me see here. Any plans for the future of staking Berry/Pixel on dual pool like QuakeSwap or similar?
So staking is something that I've had this take since November 2021. I've never liked staking for no reason. I like the effects that staking can induce, if that makes sense. So I think staking is kind of a cop out for actually good game design and token utility. So we don't like pure staking of like you put this token and get like X yield. Also, with the way that a lot of these tokens are getting looked at recently, I don't love how that might get some of them classified. We want our use case of the token to be, very clear on what it actually is, not a security, just an in-game token. So we're going to probably avoid things like that early on. But we do like the idea of kind of having some pseudo effects of staking through in-game mechanics. So, things like the surplus system, for example, like that's a way that we can kind of introduce a mechanic that's like staking. Essentially, you have this land, it's getting used, and you get some of the resources being used on the land through an in-game mechanic that makes sense. So we like that kind of stuff essentially.
Okay, so then hopping back to pets, will they be minted in a second collection? And yeah, someone else, I think I lost it. Oh no, wait here. Will pets be released as an NFT or in the future plans to add possibility to mint?
They will be an NFT, likely on Polygon. We'll get more details on how they're actually minted and distributed quite soon. It ties in with a few other things, and there's still a few parts of the mechanic that we're debating as well on how we want to do this. So it's going to be a little bit of community feedback. We'll probably have some discussions with you guys on what we plan to do with that. But our focus right now is on product and making sure the pets make sense in game, making sure they look good, making sure they have things that they can do in game before we think about the mint. So we're kind of going with the reverse approach of a lot of projects. We want them to do something. We want them to be useful in game before we even think about the mint. And that's the focus right now.
Like what you just said, though, is in line with our ethos with literally everything, and that is utility first. We're not going to release something if there isn't utility. We're not going to release our token. We're not going to release pets. We're not going to release, even VIP if there's no reason for it immediately. We don't want to like give you a roadmap and promise all these things and tell you to, be a part of it right now. Like, you know what I mean? It just doesn't make any sense to us. We want to do the opposite of that. So, yeah.
Yeah, part of that is part of that is like roadmaps change. Like we adjust a lot, and that's not a bad thing. It's a good thing. We're responsive. We aren't going to do something that won't work in the long run. If we see something that we're working on that isn't actually working in the way that we wanted to, this is huge. This is a huge advantage that we have over AAA. I'm really excited to see what AAA will do in blockchain gaming and Web3 gaming. But we're not a AAA studio. So we have a different way that we build. We have a different mindset, and it also gives us some advantages. So the disadvantages we have not being AAA is, we don't have the production level, obviously. This isn't amazing 3D graphics. This isn't like, you don't have a sound and everything. You don't have some of the animations that you might expect from a AAA game. That's kind of intentional on our end. We're really focused on functionality first. And then two, like the advantages that we get are we get to be extremely responsive and we get to adjust really quickly when things aren't going the way that we might expect. And in Web3, I can't emphasize how important that's been for us. Obviously the landscape changes every single day. I'm in a bunch of Slack groups with Web3 games that are now like, they have no idea what to do, that the royalty model is completely flipped, things like that. But we are able to be pretty responsive, and we are able to change the course of our direction quite quickly and adjust to the ever-changing market essentially. And things, even simple things like the meta of what Web3 gaming resonated with a year ago. Play to earn was still a very big buzzword at the time. We didn't like that in the first place too, but we're not caught into like those same metas as well. Like if you're building a AAA production game, you got to decide what that game is going to be like. a year before you build it. They have like a 6-month long pre-production phase, and that game is going to basically be that game, a year before it's even built. So they have to kind of predict, what the space is going to be, whereas we can, really just adapt with the space.
That is so crazy to me to think about too. I haven't worked in a traditional gaming company before, and I often look back on where we were a year ago. Even your tweet yesterday, where are we going to be in a year from now is what I keep thinking. The amount that we've done in this last year has been insane. I can't even imagine what it's going to be like a year from now. And
Yeah.
huge shout out to the internal team, the developers, the designers, the operations, everything. They are incredible. So huge.
And this
Kudos.
might be, maybe I shouldn't say this, but I will say, like, we have direction, we have an idea of where we want to go, and we have like an ideal of the space. We also have no idea what Pixels will look like in a year, because it could be so different. There's so many different directions that we could go. So, our approach is keep moving, keep building, keep experimenting, and we're going to move in some direction. I think at this point, there should be a level of trust that we are going to keep releasing, keep building, keep shipping, and we're going to make progress. But, where that progress actually ends up going is kind of, I don't want to say up in the air, but in a way it is, because we'll adjust and we'll kind of go where the space makes sense.
It's like a roadmap with a bunch of forks in it. Okay. Let's hop back to questions. When will we have an auction house? Well, we have one, and we did kind of a fun mock auction a few weeks ago for some items. But I actually pulled up this question because I thought, I know a lot of people have been talking about marketplace, and Luke has leaked a little bit of like ideas that we've been throwing around. So I don't know if you want to speak to it at all.
Yeah, so we have a developer working on an in-game marketplace right now. That's a pretty big priority as we move towards user-generated content. So again, we have 2 directions that we're going with the Pixel token that we want to kind of feel out: user-generated content route and the pets route. So we want 2 drastically different use cases of Pixel when we release it. And we'll kind of see what takes off a bit more. I'm very optimistic about user-generated content. I love it. So we're working on 2 things with that direction. We're working on right now a decoration builder, so you guys can actually upload your own pixel art and make new directions. And then we're working on an in-game marketplace, and this in-game marketplace ties in with that, because we want to basically allow you guys to sell your own, created items in the marketplace too. So you'll be able to sell all the in-game items in Pixels, but then you'll also be able to sell, any of the content that you create. So yeah, auction house or marketplace, it's more a marketplace, is getting worked on right now.
Yeah, and when we talk about user-generated content, you guys are already doing it, which is so cool. And I just saw Lolito posted in the, I'm trying to find the comment and I cannot, but I like, even, one of our farmhands, wonderful, is hosting a race on their land. I can't find the comment. I forget what it is, but it's on 479 tomorrow at some point. So like, that's so cool. Like you guys are finding ways to create content already with like, the existing setup and whatnot. And so it's just so amazing. And, there've been parties recently. I think I missed one the other day. There was a party on some big land. Anyways, we love it. We love seeing it. It's so exciting to us and so much.
And we don't just love seeing it, like we actually want to enable it to be even better. So it's like you guys doing this kind of stuff gets us excited, because we're like, oh, how can we actually make it so that you guys can hold better events, keep people engaged more? It's a win-win scenario, right? The less that you have to rely on us to make new content, the better, because you guys get to release it at a much faster speed than we ever would.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And Eldeniro just posted a screenshot of it in general chat. Yeah. So the race Thursday at 11 a.m. PT Farm 479. Like, I love it. It's so exciting. I love seeing these kind of events. Okay. Question back to usernames. What is the name bound to?
Yeah, it's tied to your ETH address through like some abstraction. So again, we do account abstraction for you guys. You guys sign in with ETH right now, but we actually create a Polygon wallet for you guys on the back end. That's also tied to like an in-game database as well. So it's technically tied to that like off-chain name that's tied to your ETH address, that's tied to like a custodial wallet in Polygon.
Okay. And this is a broad question that I like. Any partnership news? Can we talk about any of the things we've got going? Anything we can
Maybe. Have you been added to all those Slack channels? I
Yes.
just
Yes. Yes.
I'm drowning everybody. There's like 10 to 15 like partnership Slack channels we have open right now. Internally, there's a lot. I am kind of worrying I'm drowning the team with a fire hose with partnerships, but
It's really fun though. I just saw like a little sneak peek of something this morning that I didn't know much about, and kind of has to do with the user as an individual. I don't want to leak too much, but it was really cool to see. I was like, yeah, I love this,
yeah.
I think you guys will too.
So what's great about the size of our community right now is we actually have more monthly active wallets, and even accounting for bots, which we're estimating to be like 30 to 40% of new wallets getting made, not active players but new wallets getting made, so just keep that in mind. Like that's still a larger user base than most protocols in this space, so we are getting a good amount of demand for partnerships on our end, because we can kind of act like a funnel to them too. And how I see Pixels potentially is being like a really, really easy UX to a lot of these Web3 experiences that are pretty interesting to me, but maybe haven't polished up the UI or figured out their own distribution or anything like that. So yeah, no, we're really excited about it. And because of you guys, we get to get some pretty interesting ones.
Okay. Maybe it's too early to ask this question, but at some point, will we be able to sell stuff on OpenSea?
Yep. So basically, the order of operations is Berry, withdraw and deposit, Pixel, and then focusing on the NFT in ERC 1155 withdraw and deposit. So again, all the items that you have in game are NFTs. They're ERC 1155s on the back end. It's pretty cool. You can look at the contract and see it, and see all your in-game inventories update. Anytime you do actions, or I think it's actually a bit lazier. I think we update your inventories every couple of hours. But yeah, they're getting updated. They're on chain. We just don't allow you to move them from your custodial wallet into your hot wallet yet, but that's planned. Yeah, we're kind of working on the UI now. Essentially, like we have a testing UI ready, but I kind of want to make it look like trading. Like essentially, how you can think about it is you're trading your assets from your custodial wallet into your hot wallet, and it's just like an in-game trade. So you'll be able to move them back and forth like that.
Okay, and let me see here. Any plans to release leaderboards on certain industry levels?
So one potentially, I don't think that's in the roadmap, but I do like that idea. One thing with the pixel distribution and the mission that we're thinking about is what we want to do is we want to do a leaderboard style emission of the pixel tokens. So we kind of want to do like that mini. If you guys were here for the play the airdrop that we did in October, we want to run something like that on like a weekly cadence, basically. And that's how we want to distribute the tokens. So the pixel token will be distributed in a much, much different way than Berry, where you earn Berry by playing the game and selling crops to an in-game store. Pixel, we're essentially going to do the badge system, potentially like a tiny leaderboard for each week. Things like whoever harvests the most Scarrets this week, or like the top 100 people that harvest Scarrets get a badge, things like that. So that's how we're thinking about pixel distribution. And then it's pulled from like a pool of the tokens. So it's not inflationary like Berry. Where Berry, anytime there's a new user, the amount of Berry generated per day increases. It's not the same with Pixel.
Okay. Let me look here.
I'll pull this one up. Oh.
Okay. Sorry.
Well, yeah, we'll do that one first. Okay. Yeah, so this is what we're debating. This is actually something that the team is still trying to think about. what makes the most sense. Essentially, what we've done with our pets is we've laid out several different options. We've kind of, we've mapped out all the choices that we have to make. I kind of like the idea of having early pets or Genesis pets be the most powerful, or other games like Axie do it a bit differently, where it's more about the breeding. So the earlier pets are able to breed more, and there's like economic value in them. Where we're thinking about either of those ways, we're not quite sure what's best. So if you guys have feedback on that, I'm kind of curious what you guys' thoughts are. For the pets mint, what we want to be doing is we want to make them feel like they're worth having early on. Obviously, when we're thinking about a new collection, or if we're doing anything like that, obviously, I think we've learned how to frame things in the way where it's like, okay, you need to get this early on. It's going to be better if you get early on, things like that. Like, there is a sense of like marketing that comes from generating this feeling that these things early on will benefit you later down the road. And these in-game mechanics where that Zed run mechanic, where the originals are the best, is a good way to do that, essentially. It also, what I like about that kind of mechanic too is you are able to make pets inflationary, if that makes sense, which isn't necessarily a bad thing, because you can make them accessible to new users, then still have a way to make the people who came in earlier feel like their time and energy was worth it, while still having an increase of supply of these pets. So it's a way to kind of balance that out. That is why we like that route. So we're debating. It's definitely on the radar. We're thinking about all these things. We're thinking about econ design. Oh, I just had this thought the other day. Economics is the study of essentially making people. Economics is essentially the study of making as many people as possible happy. And at my core, I'm a giant people pleaser. So this is the kind of stuff that we're thinking about when we're thinking about the next design of pets, pixels, and all that too. It's like, okay, how can we maximize outcomes for everybody through good incentive design, good structure, good game design. And that's a super fun problem. It definitely excites me at the core because of these tendencies I have.
All right. Was there a question you wanted to bring up?
Oh yeah, somebody asked about Tap Radar. We're talking to that team. The way that they track activity is a bit different. So yeah, we do have all this on-chain activity. It is a bit sad that we don't get to be shown on Tap Radar right now. So we're working with that team and talking to them to make sure that we can get on there when the Berry withdrawal and deposits open. I think it has a way to. So how we do our distribution of the token is we send them all from one token, or we send all of our tokens with this uncapped token to one wallet, basically, or two wallets. And then we distribute those tokens from these two wallets to all of your wallets, so that we can kind of save on all these crazy minting fees. We don't have to mint new tokens all the time. We just send them instead of or we just transfer them instead of minting tokens, essentially. I think how they have their tech set up, it looks like that might be wash trading in their eyes, even though it's not. It's like literally coming from a mint, essentially, but it's just coming from like a pre-mint that we did. I think when we have withdrawal and deposit open, where the tokens are actually going to move from or custodial wallets to your hot wallets, they'll pick it up better on that end. But then also when we're about to introduce, I can't talk about it too much. When we start to do the NFT withdrawal and deposit, like that'll definitely get picked up with our current tech stack. But yeah, we're working with our team. I think we have a bit of a unique implementation on how we've done some of this stuff. The tech that we've been doing is actually somewhat novel. And it's funny because a lot of big Web3 games that you guys have heard about that came before us are actually now coming to us to ask us how we've done our technical implementation, how our tech stack works. So we're getting a bit of advice to, Web3 gaming projects that were here before us and maybe even seem bigger than us. But the stuff that we're doing is a bit novel. So yeah, some of these things aren't getting tracked the way they might need to be, but it's okay.
All right. And then someone's talking about, I think this is in relation to the skill levels of maps. So they're not.
Oh, no. I think they were talking about when I was describing the leaderboard activities of the Pixel token and how we plan those emissions. So yeah, the cool thing about how we're going to be setting this up is, we don't want the token to go to bots. Like, why would we want that? That's not good for anybody. That's not good for you. That's not good for us. So we can do some interesting things where we can adjust challenges every single week, keep people on their toes, and then we are going to make them lean towards the activities that are much more difficult to bot, which we won't describe those yet. But we do know that there are certain things that bots are just much worse at, analyzing the real in-game data that we have now. And those are the things that we're going to be rewarding.
Okay. Let's look at these final questions I pulled up here. Just some questions about pets, really, which is kind of fun. Have you weighed the possibility to have pets have in-game value? So XPet gives forestry, resources, cutting down wood, harvesting.
Yeah, no, they're probably gonna do that as well. So I think I don't want to spill too much, but yeah, they will also have in-game value besides just the future things that we plan on doing with them. So again, it's really important for us that the pets do something when they first release, and the easiest things for us to make them do are related to the current game loop that we have right now. We do want to be adding more functionality around the pets. That's partly why we're introducing pets, because we think that we can open up some more interesting and unique gameplay that we can't with just the land.
Okay. And then this is another pets question. Do pet stats growth, will it be fixed once they're born, or can you work towards advancements?
Yeah, so how we have currently designed them is there are basically like two types of stats. Well, okay, one, there's visual traits, and then two, there's functional traits. And there's two types of functional traits. There's base stats. Part of the base stats are formed on just like basically genetically, like there's nothing you can change about them. And then some of them are influenced by the hatching process in the growth lab. And then two, there'll be different stats that you can train. So essentially we've kind of reserved different pieces for that. So how we're doing the metadata is it'll be a mix of on-chain and off-chain, and it'll be able to be updated, the off-chain metadata. So the train stats are a great example of off-chain data that will be updated based on the work that you put into the game. And yeah, in the off-chain and on-chain debate too, we'll probably still cache or store off-chain data on a regular cadence. Somewhere like IPFS, we'll probably pull it directly from like an in-game database early on just to speed up response times and cut costs. But we still like the idea of having immutable data stored somewhere for historical data or whatever you want there.
Okay, I'm going to pull this up because I saw some people talking about it in Discord as well. And you guys are being so dramatic. Okay, green landowner. What's doing now? Poor? No, I mean, this is just a test, We're testing out different utility for different traits and different things and all of that. And, at the end of the day, the space and the waterlands are more rare. So, who knows? I don't know. There's so much more coming. This isn't like final. This is all that's happening. Regular landowners never getting anything. And it's funny because I was looking at Discord when we first talked about that, and some people were bugging Tyler, like, I want something. And he was like, tell me what you want. And we're listening, you're not poor. Okay. If you own a land, you're not poor. First of all, you're amazing in the Pixels ecosystem, getting all that surplus. Anyways, all right. I think we've answered pretty much all questions here. Luke, is there any last minute things you wanted to say?
No, if you guys have anything else, get it out now.
And we'll leave you with this. This is so sweet. We're so happy that you're here with us as well. We would not be where we are without each and every single one of you. So thank you all for coming every week to these lives, being a part of it, working with us, building in public with us. We are truly, truly grateful. Okay. Yeah, and if you have any other questions, please just throw them in one of the general chats on Discord, tag Luke or I or the community team, Farmhands, whoever you think is best suited to your question, and we'll get back to you as soon as we can.
Yeah.
Oh, gosh.
And then maybe soon. That's all I'll say.
All right, bye guys.